Yes, well, hello once again. I'm here for the Columbia Basin Rural Development Institute to give an update on the economy for 2016. Certainly the developments we've seen at the global level have been quite concerning. We haven't really seen any material improvement in the global economy, and as a result we are seeing commodity prices remain quite low, and there's a considerable amount of uncertainty on financial markets. We've seen, in addition, the Canadian dollar has declined considerably over the past year or so, and the state of the regional economy has really reflected those poor conditions. And in addition, we see the recession in Alberta as a result of the drop in oil prices also having a negative effect on the Kootenay region, particularly the East Kootenay, and to some extent up in the Columbia-Shuswap as well. The outlook for oil prices is for no material improvement over the next year. Some pickup from current low levels is likely, but it certainly won't be enough to turn the industry around and generate new capital investment, for example. The local economy is, I think, in a moderate growth phase, given the data that is available on the labor market. The population numbers have also been rather modest as well. There has been some signs of activity in the housing market in some markets. Low interest rates are certainly helping to have activity at some reasonable levels in some markets, but there are markets that are not doing as well, given that the real economy, that I'm referring to the labor market, some population outflows results in, of course, less housing activity and hence some weaker housing sales and prices that we're seeing. I think the outlook is unfortunately much the same for the next many months and through 2016, and I suspect into 2017 as well. The Alberta economy will be in a recession this year as it was last year, and potentially coming out of recession in 2017. The global economy will remain somewhat stuck in this sluggish growth phase for most of this year, if not through into 2017. There is one ray of optimism, and that's with the U.S. economy. The U.S. economy, albeit not booming, but it's growing at a moderate pace, and overall there's potential for some further uplift coming from the U.S. economy. The low Canadian dollar will be helpful for exports, tourism among them, and over time that will begin to, I think, filter through. The lumber market is, I think, going to be somewhat more positive. Certainly prices have come down in the past 6 to 9 months or so, but we are seeing some pickup in the U.S. housing activity. U.S. housing starts should be higher this year compared to last year, and also in 2017. Now, one cloud on the horizon on the lumber side, of course, is the softwood lumber agreement we have with the U.S. That expired last year, and it's currently under renegotiation. So the terms were extended 1 year through to October 2016. It's not clear as to the new terms when they'll be negotiated. They could be somewhat more liberal or perhaps even more restrictive than we've seen in the past. So there's certainly some uncertainty in that regard. The mining sector, particularly in metallurgical coal, does not look promising for this year. We've seen a large decline in the demand for steel, production of steel in China, and in the world economy in general. The prospects for operations in the Kootenay, Alford, Sparwood area are not good for this year. So we'll see further weakness in that sector. Population growth, as I alluded to earlier, is relatively modest. There are some differences in the regional districts within the Kootenay area, but generally modest growth at best. And in some cases, we're seeing declines, according to the latest estimates from BC Stats. So I think the Kootenay region as a whole certainly faces considerable economic development challenges, and they're not easy to overcome by any means. Helping improve business conditions is certainly one element, but local governments only have limited options. Certainly upgrading infrastructure is desirable, but there are limits to that as well. Upgrading human skills, training, development of the labor force, certainly very important, and certainly very desirable, and we should expect benefits from that. However, to benefit the local economy, we need to see local demand pick up for labor, if you will, for those skilled people. And looking broadly ahead into the future, certainly on the environmental front, there's scope for further increase in demand for labor services, technology as well. So the services side of the economy is likely to generate more growth over time. But I think the Kootenay region, again, will face fairly modest growth prospects for this year and probably for the next 2 or 3 years.